Imagine a massive state-of-the-art car factory. We're talking about the 1970s here.
Okay, so like the early days of real industrial automation.
Exactly. It is fully automated. Assembly lines are just humming. Sparks are flying from the welding machines. All of it is run by some of the most advanced robotics of that era.
Right, a real technological marvel for the time.
Yeah. And the floor is mostly uncrewed, save for maybe a security guard doing routine patrols. But then tragedy strikes.
Oh, no.
Yeah. A robot suddenly malfunctions. It swings wildly out of its programmed path, and it actually kills a worker.
Which is just a horrifying industrial nightmare. And I mean, an event like that immediately launches a massive investigation, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Engineers come in, they tear the machine apart down to the last bolt and wire. They are desperately searching for the mechanical failure.
Okay, let's unpack this, because here's the twist. They find absolutely nothing wrong.
Wait, nothing.
Nothing. The hardware is flawless, the programming is perfect, the robot wasn't broken at all.
Then how did it happen?
The malfunction was caused by invisible radio waves bleeding through the factory walls, and they were coming from a noisy electronic arcade right next door.
Oh, wow. So just pure signal interference.
Yes, the high-frequency interference literally scrambled the machine's commands.
That is wild.
It is. Now, what if I told you that according to one highly unique worldview, that is exactly how the entire universe works?
I mean, that is a bold claim.
Right, and the invisible interference scrambling the cosmos in this scenario is actually human anger.
That is fascinating.
Welcome to today's deep dive. For you listening, our mission today is to explore this really fascinating theological lecture. It comes from the Daesun Jinriho tradition.
Yeah, and it is a wildly different lens through which to view reality.
It really is. It is a framework where natural disasters aren't just weather phenomena,
Right.
and the gods themselves are, well, they are far from perfect. It is essentially a look into a cosmic blame game between humans and spirits.
Just to set the tone for you, the listener, we are embarking on a purely intellectual exercise today. We are objectively exploring this text's framework.
Right, we aren't endorsing a specific theology here.
Exactly. The goal is to stretch our minds. We want to look at the universe not as a cold, mechanical void driven purely by physics, but as a hypersensitive ecosystem directly influenced by human emotion.
And it begins by fundamentally challenging how we even view the divine. Because, I mean, in most mainstream traditions, we are taught to assume the heavens are just perfect.
Usually that is the baseline assumption.
Like a natural disaster might be seen as a mystery, or maybe even divine punishment. But the spiritual realm itself is supposed to operate like a flawless Swiss watch.
Right, infallible.
But the text we are looking at today completely shatters that assumption. It paints a picture of a spiritual realm that is, frankly, kind of a mess.
It really does. The text describes what it calls an old heaven.
An old heaven.
Yeah. And this old heaven is heavily burdened. It is sluggish, it has glaring blind spots, and the spirits who run it are incredibly prone to distraction.
They just sort of drop the ball.
I absolutely dropped the ball. A perfect illustration of this is a story the text shares about the absolute peak of summer heat.
Oh, right, the 6th lunar month, around the time of the Jungbuk, or the Middle Dog Day.
Yes, exactly. During major heat. Now, in agricultural terms, this is a critical moment.
Because the crops are ripening, right. The fruit is getting sweet.
Exactly. But because of all that organic bounty, the heat brings out these hordes of insects. They swarm the fields, and they threaten to devour the entire harvest.
Which would cause widespread famine.
Right. It is a make-or-break moment for survival.
Which is where the divine intervention is supposed to kick in.
Precisely. Historically, within this tradition, this specific moment in the summer is when the thunder god is supposed to act.
Okay, the thunder god.
The thunder is meant to serve as a kind of cosmic pesticide.
A cosmic pesticide. I love that phrasing.
Well, it makes sense, right? The sheer sonic force and the electrical charge of the storm scares the insects. It causes them to drop from the stalks and die, which saves the crops.
It is a very elegant natural mechanism.
Yeah, managed by a spiritual overseer.
Except in the passage we are looking at, specifically Kwanji 2:17, the mechanism completely fails.
It just doesn't happen.
The thunder just does not strike, the heat beats down, the bugs are swarming, the people are facing starvation, and the spirits in charge are essentially asleep at the wheel.
It is wild to think about spirits just slacking off.
I know. So the supreme god, Sengje, literally has to step in and fix it manually. The text describes him standing in a village just yelling at the sky until his voice is hoarse.
Which is such a vivid image. The supreme god losing his voice from yelling at his own staff.
Yeah, he has to take a piece of straw, burn it in a brazier, and furiously scold the heavens for their sheer negligence. He is mad that they are trying to starve innocent people.
And the most telling part of that story is that even after being yelled at by the supreme god, the spirits still bungle the job.
Exactly. The lightning finally flashes, but it only strikes in the north. It is a total half measure.
Right, they barely do the bare minimum.
So Sangja has to scream at them a second time. He demands to know if it is just that only the people in the north get to live while everyone else starves.
And only then does the thunder finally crash in all directions to save the harvest.
It is just wild. And the text doesn't just limit this incompetence to the weather either. It brings up the spread of a mysterious illness.
Oh, right, the Gojiol.
Yeah, the mysterious illness.
The dynamic with this illness in Jezeng 23 is even more revealing about the state of this old heaven.
How so?
Well, the text explains there's actually a divine general explicitly in charge of this sickness.
A manager of the disease, basically.
Right, but the supreme god has to scold this general as well, because the illness is highly biased.
Bias tap.
It aggressively targets the homes of innocent, impoverished commoners. The text calls them Mugo-changsan. But it mysteriously avoids the mansions of powerful kings, generals, and prime ministers.
The Zhuangzhang Seng.
Exactly. It completely skips the elites.
So, wait, are we saying the heavens operate like a dysfunctional corporate office?
Kind of, yeah.
Like where middle management is either slacking off on their lunch break or they are too intimidated by the powerful auras of wealthy humans to actually do their jobs fairly?
What's fascinating here is how effectively this demystifies the spiritual realm. It portrays the spirits almost like corrupt bureaucrats.
Yeah.
They prey on the weak because it's just easier than confronting the strong. It completely removes the concept of an infallible divine plan.
Right. So if a hurricane wipes out a coastal town or a disease ravages a population, this worldview doesn't say, well, God works in mysterious ways.
No, it says the spirits in charge made a catastrophic error.
But that immediately begs the question. If these spirits are powerful enough to control lightning and disease, why are they failing so badly? Why is the cosmic bureaucracy breaking down?
And this is where the text pulls a massive reversal. It takes us right back to that factory analogy from the beginning of our deep dive.
Ah, the robot and the arcade.
Yes. The transition from the divine to the human here is crucial. The text argues that the spirits aren't failing in a vacuum.
They aren't just bad at their jobs.
Exactly. They're being actively jammed.
Yeah.
And the lecture uses that tragic story of the Japanese car factory in the 1970s to explain the mechanics of it.
Right. The investigators realized the factory robot's wireless control signals were being disrupted by electromagnetic interference, the EMI from the arcade next door.
Right.
And how does the speaker in the text apply that industrial physics problem to a spiritual theology?
By identifying what exactly acts as the spiritual equivalent of that arcade noise. The text points to a core concept: human resentment and sorrow.
Which is known as One and Han, right?
Yes, One and Han. Think about the entirety of human history: the victims of war, starvation, slavery, betrayal, and systemic oppression.
That is a lot of trauma.
It is. And that isn't just an emotional ledger in this framework. Deep, unresolved anger and sorrow emit a tangible, murderous aura.
A murderous aura, like the Salji.
Exactly. It acts as a highly toxic energy. That accumulated human trauma radiates outward, and it acts exactly like the high-frequency electromagnetic interference scrambling that robot.
How I see.
It creates a dense, impenetrable spiritual static that blocks the command signals of the universe.
So the spirits, much like that factor machine, become disoriented.
Yes, they malfunction, and they inadvertently cause disasters.
Are we literally saying that holding a grudge or radiating intense collective trauma can short-circuit the cosmos?
The text argues that the connection is entirely literal. To illustrate the mechanism, it references a very old traditional proverb.
Okay, what is the proverb?
Because if a woman harbors resentment, frost falls in May and June.
Frost in May and June.
Right. Now, if we look at that through a modern meteorological lens, human anger obviously does not alter barometric pressure to create summer snow.
Scientifically impossible, sure.
But spiritually, within this specific framework, it explains the how of natural disasters.
How does it explain it? Walk me through the mechanics of a summer frost.
Well, The natural order is supposed to flow smoothly, right? From spring to summer to autumn.
Right, basic seasons.
But when a human being experiences profound, unjust suffering, their resentment emits that spiritual static. If that static gets loud enough, it deafens the spiritual operators in charge of the seasons.
Oh, wow. They literally can't hear the instruction.
Exactly. They lose their bearings. In their confusion, surrounded by the noise of human pain, they accidentally trigger winter weather conditions right in the middle of summer.
So the ecosystem breaks down not because the spirits are evil, but because they are being blinded and deafened by our collective trauma.
Precise.
Wow. Here's where it gets really interesting, because if you follow that logic, it creates a terrifying feedback loop.
Oh, absolutely.
Think about it. Human resentment scrambles the spirits. The confused spirits mess up the natural order, causing a disaster, say, a drought.
Right.
That drought causes a famine, which creates immense human suffering. That suffering generates even more resentment, which pumps even more static into the atmosphere, causing even worse disasters.
It is a death spiral. And the text doesn't shy away from the severity of that loop either. It shifts from describing localized malfunctions, like a mist thunderstorm or a summer frost, to describing a total systemic collapse.
Meaning things are getting worse on a universal scale.
Yes, the interference has reached a critical apocalyptic tipping point.
The lecture uses an incredibly vivid metaphor for this. It
Right.
breaks down the ancient characters for the word universe.
Right, the characters for space and time.
Yeah, it explains that one character represents the concept of space and the other represents time. So space and time literally make up the physical architecture of a cosmic house.
A cosmic house, I like that.
And because of thousands of years of unresolved one and all that compounded human resentment, the house is in a state of absolute structural collapse. The word they use is wahi.
Yeah, and the specific imagery used in the text is the roof tiles beginning to slide off.
Oh man, once the tiles start sliding, the structural integrity is just gone.
Exactly. The entire system of reality is tearing itself apart.
Yeah.
And the text makes a fascinating point about how unsolvable this problem has become.
Unsolvable by human means, you mean?
Right. It claims that even the most legendary minds in human history would be entirely helpless to fix it.
It specifically mentions ancient military strategists, right?
Yeah.
Like Zhu Ziyang or Han Xin, men who were famous for their tactical genius.
Yes. Zhiliang is a perfect example because legend says he could literally manipulate the weather. He summoned a wind during a crucial naval battle.
He was like the ultimate problem solver.
He was. But the text argues that even someone with his mind-bending strategic power couldn't stop this collapse.
Because you can't out-strategize a collapsing reality. I mean, if the roof of the universe is caving in, it doesn't matter how brilliant you are at moving the furniture around inside the living room.
That is a great way to put it.
The static is just too loud. And to really drive home the tragedy of this collapse, the lecture brings in a famous piece of classical literature.
Ah, yes, the Seven Paces poem by Cao Zi.
The Chibosi.
Yes. It's a deeply poignant inclusion. It shifts the focus from cosmic mechanics back to intimate human tragedy.
Can you break down the story behind the poem for us?
Sure. So the story is a brutal succession struggle between two brothers, Cao Pai and Cao Zi. The older brother, Cao Pai, seizes the throne, but he feels deeply threatened by his younger brother's intellect and popularity.
Classic royal family drama.
Very much so. So he forces Cao Zi into an impossible situation. He commands him to compose a flawless poem within the exact time it takes to walk 7 paces.
With the unspoken threat being, if you stumble or if the poem isn't a masterpiece, I will execute you on the spot.
Right. It is the ultimate pressure cooker.
And Cao Zi actually manages to do it.
He does. He writes a poem about the act of boiling beans. He observes that to boil the beans in the pot, you have to burn the bean stalks underneath it for fuel.
The stalks that the beans grew from.
Exactly. In the poem, the beans are weeping in the boiling water, crying out to the burning stalks below. They say, "We were born of the exact same root. Why are you in such a ruthless rush to fry me?"
Wow.
It's a devastating metaphor for brothers destroying brothers. The bone and flesh conflict.
And in the context of this lecture, we aren't just talking about a royal family dispute anymore. The beans and the beanstalks represent humans and the spirits.
They do. They share the same origin, the same fundamental root of existence in this universe.
Which highlights a deeply tragic irony. If humans and spirits share the same root, as the text suggests, then this cosmic battle isn't a war against some alien external force.
No, it is not.
It's the universe literally cooking itself alive. We, the humans, are the beans suffering in the pot. The spirits are the stalks being burned up to fuel the fire, and we are just mutually destroying each other.
It is a dark picture.
It really is. How do you even begin to fix a system that is destroying itself from the inside out?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it highlights a terrifying concept of mutual assured destruction. The disasters affecting humans, which the text calls Jejio, and the confusion and failure affecting the spirits, or Bishop, are completely locked together.
You cannot fix one without fixing the other.
Exactly. You can't just tinker with the weather patterns, and you can't just try to win the next human war. Resolving it requires a completely new paradigm, a fundamental clearing of the static itself.
Which brings us to the final act of this cosmic drama.
The solution.
Right. With the house collapsing and the beans boiling in the pot, we have to look at the text's ultimate solution for saving the universe. And honestly, for a theology dealing with gods and energy frequencies, it is incredibly pragmatic.
It really grounds everything in reality.
It does, because according to this philosophy, sitting alone in a quiet room, meditating, and trying to achieve your own isolated personal enlightenment, it is completely useless if the house is falling down around you.
Personal nirvana doesn't patch a hole in the cosmic roof. The text introduces a concept known as Heiwan Sangsang.
Heiwan Sangsang, meaning what in practical terms?
It translates roughly to resolving grievances for mutual life. It is the active, intentional unwinding of that accumulated resentment.
So you have to actively fix the problems.
Yes. The goal is to clear away the toxic static, the negative karma, and the spiritual demons, or hema, created by our pain.
In order to reach a future world, right?
Right. To reach a future world that the text describes as the Cheongwo world, which is completely debt-free.
A debt-free world. A reality where the cosmic slate has finally been wiped clean of all historical trauma. But here is the detail that really jumped out at me from the source material. How do you actually pay off a spiritual debt?
It is a good question.
Because you can't just write a check to the thunder god to apologize for the static, you know?
No, you cannot.
Yeah.
But you can redirect resources in the physical world to change the spiritual frequency.
Right. The text talks about sincere offerings, or chizung, but practically speaking, in this specific tradition, those offerings aren't just burned on an altar and forgotten in the woods.
No, they are highly practical.
The resources from these offerings are funneled directly back into society. They are used to build infrastructure. They run hospitals, they build schools, and they fund massive educational charities.
Which is very unique for a spiritual practice.
It is. Okay, but let me push back on that for a second.
Sure.
Let's make this concrete for you listening.
Okay.
How does funding a local hospital or a school literally stop a thunderstorm from failing or prevent a summer frost? What is the actual mechanism connecting a charity to the weather?
To understand that, we have to go back to the factory analogy.
Okay, the robot in the arcade.
Right. If human suffering and anger, the one and Han, are the electromagnetic interference jamming the spirits, then the only way to fix the weather is to turn off the jamming signal.
You have to unplug the arcade machines.
Exactly. And you can't just ask people to stop being angry while they are starving or sick. You have to remove the source of the suffering.
Ah, I see where this is going.
When you build a hospital, you are physically healing the sick. You are taking a human being who is radiating pain and resentment, and you are replacing that emotion with relief, health, and gratitude.
You are changing their frequency.
You are. You are literally turning down the volume of the toxic static in that specific area. When you educate an impoverished child, you are removing the generational trauma of poverty.
So piece by piece, hospital by hospital, school by school, you are clearing the spiritual atmosphere.
Exactly. And as that static clears, the spirits can finally hear the natural commands again.
The interference is gone.
Right. They regain their bearings, they strike the thunder when they're supposed to, they regulate the seasons properly, the weather normalizes.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener? I mean, it reframes the entire concept of doing good deeds.
It really does.
It frames social work and charity not just as a moral obligation to be a quote-unquote good person or a way to earn a favorable spot in the afterlife. It frames it as literally paying off an ancient cosmic credit card bill to keep the universe running.
It's a profound shift in perspective. It uniquely binds spiritual salvation directly to tangible, sweat-on-the-brow, real-world action.
You really cannot meditate the world's pain away.
No, the spiritual mechanic requires physical labor. By healing the sick and educating the unlettered, you reduce the interference, which allows the divine to function, which saves the cosmic house from sliding into oblivion.
It is the ultimate feedback loop of mutual life, replacing the old cycle of mutual destruction.
Beautifully said.
That is an incredible journey to take through a single piece of source material. Let's just take a breath and look back at the landscape we've just covered.
It has been a lot to process.
For sure. We started in a universe where the divine is deeply flawed,
Oh.
where spirits operate like intimidated middle managers, forcing the supreme god to yell himself hoarse just to make the lightning strike fairly.
And where diseased spirits prey on the weak while avoiding the mansions of the powerful.
Right. A universe desperately in need of an upgrade from its sluggish old heaven.
Absolutely.
And then we discovered the shocking cause of that sluggishness. Us.
Yeah, humanity.
Our historical trauma, our unresolved anger, acting like a blaring electronic arcade next to an automated factory, our pain literally scrambling the spiritual signals, causing the very natural disasters that plague us.
We looked at a reality that is a collapsing house, where humans and spirits are locked in a tragic death spiral, like brothers boiling each other alive in a pot.
But we ended with a highly pragmatic, empowering solution, paying off that cosmic debt through real-world action.
Right, clearing the static by actively building hospitals and schools, healing our neighbors in order to save the very fabric of space and time.
It's a worldview where absolutely everything is interconnected. The weather patterns over your city, the unseen spirits, your personal emotional baggage, and the charity down the street, they are all part of the exact same machine.
They're all gears in the same clock.
Which leaves us with a final thought to ponder as we wrap up today's deep dive. If this text is right, and our collective human resentment acts as a toxic static that disrupts the very laws of nature, well, what might happen if we manage to broadcast something else entirely?
Like what?
What if we could broadcast collective joy or radical forgiveness? Could a deliberate shift in our daily emotional frequency actually be the key to fixing a broken world?
It is a profound question to walk away with. I mean, if our pain is powerful enough to break the universe, it stands to reason that our healing might be powerful enough to repair it.
Something to think about the next time you hear a thunderstorm rolling in. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We will see you next time.